Thanks, Emily, and good to see everybody here today. Just a few comments about our heat pump experience. We are happy customers of Electrify My Home. Larry Waters installed both our heat pump water heater and our ducted mini split system. So just a few thoughts. So why did we want a heat pump? Well, we were worried about climate change. We definitely didn't want to be contributing to it by burning fossil fuels in our home. So we wanted to get all of the natural gas out of our home. We had a very old gas furnace, older than myself or my husband, and I was concerned about carbon monoxide leakage. We also had no cooling, and we had an experience a couple of years ago, if you all remember, the extreme heat and smoke event that coincided. And we live in Terra Linda of San Rafael, and that summer was absolutely brutal. We had no air conditioning. We had to keep all of our windows closed, so we weren't able to get any kind of breeze in our house because of the smoke. And my daughter was just 2 at the time, and her upstairs room, when we would take the temperature of her room, was 90 degrees. And so, I know at that point that we were actually risking heat stress for her small body. And so, at that point we said we have to have cooling. And I think a lot of people don't think about heat pumps as a form of cooling because they're called heat pumps. So we probably need a rebranding effort as well. But I think the biggest benefit for us of our heat pump has been having cooling, and our neighbors have been very jealous of that. And so we've actually gotten a couple of our neighbors to install heat pumps with Larry as well. Talking about some of the challenges, I think we've already heard some of these, but it was very hard to find a contractor who understood what we wanted and who could actually walk us through all the different options of heat pumps until we found Larry. Not really knowing that Larry and Electrify Marin were out there, I just first went to the major HVAC companies here in Marin. And honestly, they all wanted to install that old style system that Larry mentioned, and were going to charge us way more money. They also were really down on the idea of having a heat pump, tried to encourage us not to get a heat pump. And so until I found Larry, who really understood the full range of options, that was challenging. The other challenge was that our HOA had never heard of a heat pump before. No one in our HOA had ever tried to install a heat pump before, and they were concerned about what it was. They thought it was going to be incredibly noisy. They thought it might be an eyesore. Even though other folks had air conditioners, and which are much bigger units, much louder units. So we had to actively convince them and persuade them that this was not going to be a noise or cause any kind of noise issue. And our neighbors also have come over and listened to it and said, "Oh my gosh, you can't hear a thing. It's so quiet." The other challenge, I think, is just the cost. It was expensive to put in both a heat pump water heater, to redo our ducting, which made sense, and also to install the heat pump heating and cooling. We were able to get a green loan, a low interest loan, which helped us with that upfront cost. But it made a really good financial sense since we wanted to have heating and cooling at the same time. But I think for somebody who might already have air conditioning and is looking just to replace their gas furnace, it might be tempting to still just install a gas furnace because of the higher cost, especially if they get those contractors who don't know what they're talking about, and especially if they don't know about the rebate. So I think that's something we all have to work on, is helping do that education. In terms of the benefits, we have been so happy with our ducted system. It feels just like central heat. It feels just like central air conditioning. And so we've been totally comfortable over the past couple of years. It works great on the coldest days. And, that was one of the things the the other contractors had warned us about was that, oh, this is just not going to work when it's really cold, but it works fine. And like I said, the biggest benefit, because it gets so hot out here in the outer reaches of San Rafael, has been the cooling. And, my husband just said to me this morning when we were making coffee, oh, it's going to be really hot next week. And it's so great that we don't have to worry about like not being able to sleep at night or not having our are putting our daughter at risk. So, and also no gas bill. And we don't have solar yet, but we're really excited about putting solar on the house. And then, hopefully being more of a carbon neutral household and also lowering our electricity bill as well. And that's really all I wanted to share about my heat pump experience. Just super happy. But I did want to put a plug in for my colleague's podcast called Electrify This. There's the website right there. It's hosted by Sarah Baldwin, who's an electrification policy expert, and Larry Waters was recently on the show, and a couple other contractors were recently on the show talking about heat pumps. So there's 2 episodes just recently that we put out that focus entirely on heat pumps, both commercial and residential. So just wanted to encourage you to go over there to listen to those episodes.